Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and today I will be doing a April monthly wrap up. I read average Okay guys, so it's been probably just over 15 minutes now, and I have my computer and it's plugged in, so I have to do it this way. It might be easier, but I have everything pulled up. So I'm gonna go to my stats page. So this month I read a lot of books. I read 14 books, and that's 2 more than I read last month. Average time to finish is 3 days. I think it should be higher because a book that I read took me a week. I was reading other books during that time. Let's see, I read the more adventurous books. I read 11 adventurous books. And then after that was mysterious, which I read 9. And then tense 3, lighthearted 2, hopeful 2, funny 2, emotional 2, inspiring 1, and dark 1. Pace. I read 57% were medium pace, 38% were fast pace, which is actually pretty good. And then slow paced 7%. I read 29% of less than 300 pages, which is surprising, but 64% were 300 to 499, and then 500 plus were 7%. And then 100% fiction. I did not read any nonfiction this month. I read 9 young adult books, 6 fantasy, 5 middle grade, 4 science fiction, 3 dystopian, 2 romance. That's because there's 1 book that I would not consider a romance, but it was considered. 2 contemporary, 1 magic realism. I think that means a book set in the real world, but with magical elements, and then historical. 100% Prince. My average rating was 3.92, and I think last month it was 3.93. I gave the most 3.5 stars. I gave 1 2.75, and then 3 5 stars. Let's get into the actual books I read. Okay, so the first book I read this month was Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. And this book follows Spencer, and her and everybody else lives on this planet. It doesn't say on the back, so I don't really remember. It starts with a D, I think. So all the pilots are like heroes right now. By now, so Spencer's dream has always been to be a pilot, but her father, a pilot who was a pilot, was killed years ago when he deserted his team, leaving Spencer's chances of attending flight school at slim to none. No one will let Spencer forget what her father did, but she's determined to prove that just because her father was a coward doesn't mean she is. So she gets in the flight school and she's training, and she's uncovering mysteries with that. And I gave this book 5 stars. This was really good, and I'm excited to continue the series, and I think the cover is so pretty. But okay, that was the first book I read this month. And then I read the third and final book in the Out of My Mind trilogy, and that's Out of My Dreams by Sharon M. Draper. This book follows Melody, and she saved someone, and that someone turned out to be famous. So now she's invited to London to give a speech about saving someone important. And that's basically all the premise of the story. So this is just kind of about her exploring London and going through all the hardships of being in a wheelchair and not being able to talk or walk. But I gave this 3.5 stars, so it was a pretty good book. And then I read The Maze Runner by James Dashner. This book follows Thomas, and he wakes up in a lift, and the only thing he can remember is his name. And he's surrounded by strangers, all boys whose memories are also gone. But there's this big wall that's creating a circle around the glade, is what it's called. The place they live is called. And it's a limitless, ever-changing maze. And it's the only way out of the Glade, and no one has ever made it out alive. And then the first girl arrives, and she was the first girl ever. And she delivers a terrifying message. I did this 4 stars, and the second book, The Storch Trials, is on my monthly TBR. So I'm excited to read that, and maybe it'll be good. And then I read The Twin Crowns by Catherine Doyle and Catherine Weber. This book follows Rose and Wren. And Wren is a witch, and Rose is a princess. And Wren has grown up always knowing that she will take over her sister's throne when she comes of age one day, and Rose has grown up just like not even knowing that her sister exists. But then one day Rose is kidnapped to clear the spot for Wren to like take over the spot as the princess. And this was really good, and I'm excited to read the second book because apparently it's a trilogy. I gave this 5 stars, and I'm excited to read the next book. And the next book I read was Kisses and Croissants. This book follows Mia, and she is at an elite summer like ballet program. She has 6 weeks to achieve her dreams to get an audition with one of the world's best ballet companies. So then she meets this charming French boy named Louis, and he's her tour guide essentially. And it's just about them exploring Paris. I gave this 3.5 stars. And then I read The Witch Haven by Sasha Payton Smith. This book follows Frances, and she worked as a seamstress in New York City in 1911. But then she gets attacked, and she discovers that she's a witch. So 2 people come and take her away, claiming she has a deadly illness. But they take her to Haven, which is like a boarding school for budding witches. Her brother was murdered like a few months before, and she's trying to figure out who the murderer is. And so we have training to be a witch and solving a murder case. And it was actually pretty good. I gave it 4.5 stars. And we have The False Prince by Jennifer A. Nielsen. This book follows Sage, and he's an orphan. And then this nobleman named Connor comes around and recruits like 4 orphan boys to train to be the long lost prince, who's presumed dead. Sage is chosen to train as a long lost prince. Sage is recruited to train as the long lost prince, so he's determined to play Connor's little game just so he doesn't die. So Sage is training to become that, and I think it's really fun. I have this 5 stars. It was really good. Pretties by Scott Westerfeld. This is the second book in the Uglies series. And I wasn't going in expecting it to be like a masterpiece, because I gave the first book like 3 stars, I think 3.5. Pretty good. But this is the book that took me a week to read. This follows Sally, and she's a pretty now, and she so she's having fun. She's doing a party. She has like high-tech luxury. She has freedom. But something in her is like nagging at her senses, or that something's wrong. So then a message from Tally's past arrives, and she remembers what's wrong with Pretty's life. So that's basically the entire plot of the story. It was 2.75 stars. I reread a book, and that was Omar Rising by Aisha Said. This follows Omar, and he does a scholarship to this academy, and it's really different because he's the son of a servant, and this is like will help him get a better opportunity. So then it turns out that scholarship kids are not able to participate in extracurriculars. And then he was devastated because he wanted to join like astronomy club and soccer. But then after learning that, he learns that you have to have an A+ average to continue on to the next years. So he's determined to fight back against the rigged system. This was good, and I think the cover is so pretty. This was good. I gave this 4.25 stars. And then I read this one, which I was interested in. I got this at a local library, and I got this signed But I read this, and this book follows Dally. Yeah, Dally. So she finds this secret library, and she discovers that she can like go into books at like moments in time, precise moments in time in the past. So she starts doing that, and she starts uncovering this mystery. This 3.5 stars, and then I read Winterling. Book follows Fur, and she went through this like portal type thing called The Way, and she lands in this forest that needs saving from like an eternal winter. She just has to defeat the ruler and heal the forest. That's what the book is about. And I think this is good. I gave this 3 stars. This is The Treehouse Library by Anna James, and this follows Miles, and he is still looking for a way to cure his uncle after he was put into like a deep sleep, like from Sleeping Beauty, by touching this like special edition of Wizard of Oz. So he goes and finds the botanist. So now they're solving more stuff, and they're getting a step closer to waking them up, because this is the second to last book. I gave this 3.5 stars. And then I read Once Upon a Dream by Liz Braswell. This is part of the A Twisted Tales series. And this book is a retelling of Sleeping Beauty, and this is what if Sleeping Beauty never woke up. So basically, this book takes place all in a dream world. That's really all I can tell you without spoiling anything. I gave this 3.5 stars. And then the last book I read this month, but this is Snow Globe by Soyeon Park. This book follows Chobams, and she lives in the outside. So outside of the Snow Globe, which is a safe and warm city, and everybody inside the city is a actor. So they're like playing parts for reality TV for people outside to watch. And she's visited by 2 strangers who deliver the news that Snow Globe's biggest star has died. And then they tell her that because she looks so similar to her, we want you to take her place. It follows her, and she is living a totally different life inside the Snow Globe. This 4.25 stars. So those are the 14 books that I read this month. But you guys are probably wondering, how many books did I read off of my monthly TBR? I had 8 books on my monthly TBR, and I read 6 of them. I want to thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for next week's video by subscribing, and goodbye.